We've been waiting for this next guest for several days since he and I received an award down at Tuskegee University a couple of weeks ago from the World Conference of Mayors. And I'm honored to have with us today Bishop Joe Simon. Hello, Bishop. How are you?
I'm just fine, Dr. Williams. How you feel on a wonderful day?
Oh, I know you're fine. Every time I mention your name, that's what the sisters say. Yeah. You know, we grew up in Louisiana just a few miles apart. And for those of you too young to remember the genius of his music, I hope that you will get a little touch of his music in just a moment. We're going to be able to get it. We want just a little bit. We want just to hear who you used to be.
Yeah.
Well, that's who you are now. They got a little bit mixed up out there. That's who he is now, but we're going to hear more about that. I'm sure many of you will remember him when he was singing R&B, and he had such hit songs as Choking Kind, Drowning in the Sea of Love, Power in Your Love, 9 Pound Steel, and I could go on and on. But Joe is now a bishop and sings a different kind of song, but we'll never forget his other songs. You know, Joe, I read your book, and I want you to tell us a little bit about that book. But it was so wonderful. I was just laughing so much because I could relate to so much in your book. You'll never guess which experience we've had that we did not like.
No kidding.
Picking that cotton. But you know,
that's right.
I had a little bit of a different take on it than you did. You said 14 pounds. I had to do 300 pounds. See, my idea was if we hurried up and picked ours, then we were finished. But then Mother would always say, now we have to go help the neighbors. And that would just kill my spirit.
I'm telling you, I just hated picking cotton regardless. And I could never pick over 14 pounds a day. Now, don't forget, in the state of Louisiana, if you was lazy, they hated lazy people, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't feed lazy people that good. So you can imagine how skinny I was.
Yeah, I was reading about that in the book. But tell us a little bit about the Joe Simon of yesteryear.
Well, the Joe Simon of yesteryear, I was born in Summerport, Louisiana, and moved as a youngster with my family. We moved to California, and I was finished my raising in California. Then I slept in a chicken coop, and I'm bringing it kind of fast. I slept in a chicken coop because I began to try to find the same rhythm and blues, and I couldn't make it for a while. And then after sleeping in the chicken coop, I finally got a hit record called My Adorable One that took me from the chicken coop to the Apollo Theater. And now the rest is history.
Now, when I tell people about the chicken coop, they say, oh, no, not a real chicken coop. Tell us about the chicken coop now.
Oh, listen, that chicken coop was something else. And but you know what? I liked the chicken coop because I didn't know I was poor. I had so much fun being a poor kid, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so I enjoyed it, but I didn't. And my manager at that time, trying to be my manager, was a guy named Gary Thompson. They asked me to come stay with them, but I'd rather stay in the chicken coop because I was independent. I didn't have to depend on other people by telling me when to come and when to go. You know what I mean?
But you were so young then. I mean, you were allowed to live by yourself?
Yes, because you have to read it. There's no way you and me going to cover all of this.
I know.
But you know, what happened is my mother told me don't go to California. But I was hard-headed because I told her I didn't have no future picking cotton. So I had to go somewhere. And so when I got to California, I didn't know that living was so hard. That's what made me live in the chicken coop. But I had a pretty unique life in there. And I just wish I could explain all of it on the phone, but it's just impossible.
Well, people are going to have to get your book, and I want you to tell us a little bit about the book so that what we miss, I know some of it is in that book. So tell us about your book.
Well, you can, the book, we put it on it's not on Amazon or none of these things yet. We mostly sell the book as we travel through the country so we can control it more, better. You understand?
Okay.
And so, but it talks about Joe Simon's life and Joe Simon as a kid, Joe Simon as a young man, and all the way up until Joe Simon is a bishop. And that's a great story. You're going to have to find a way to find all of that.
Okay, it's called Don't Give Up. You can make it if you try. You can win. And that's what's really great. I like the fact that you're now working with young people, but I want to go back to that early Joe Simon for just a few more minutes. Now, you say that you were poor when you were growing up. Well, you know, that didn't usually bother us because we were all just about the same in those days, and we didn't really call it poor. But when we look back on it now, I guess that's what it was. Tell us how you got into music, how you started singing.
I started singing quartets through the years as a kid, and moved to California, and then I started still singing with quartet because I was raised up in church. And then I met a person by the name of Johnson, Bill Johnson, and he asked me to sing with his doo-wop group. So I said to him that, man, I don't know no doo-wop songs, man, because in my home, we couldn't play no rhythm and blues and doo-wop and blues music. We just couldn't play it. And so I said, well, I'll be willing to learn. And then I got in that little doo-wop group, and we went on, and we finally put out a record called Dorita. And what happened is the disc jockey, we played with a guy, you might like this, watch. We played with a guy that had a record in those days named Barrett Strong. He had a record out called Your Love Don't Something Like Give Me a Thrill, Your Love Don't Pay My Bills, or something like that.
Yeah.
And the disc jockey asked a member that who was singing the lead, and they said Joe Simon. So when I got to the practice that afternoon, the group called a meeting, and they fired me because they said we was not going to be Joe Simon and the Golden Tones. We was going to like Hank Ballard and the Midnighters. So they fired me, and then I started singing by myself. You understand?
All right, then. So sometimes it's not a bad idea to be fired from something. I was reading about that, and that was just too funny because just look where those guys might have gone. I don't know who they are, but everybody knows who Joe Simon is.
Yes, right.
Yeah. Well, you know, my good friend Johnny Ford down in Tuskegee, Alabama, and he does so much community service himself. And when you're around him, it's just contagious. And I know you do a lot of that. And we're going to get to that after we have a break in just a few moments. But he recently presented you with an award from the World Conference of Mayors and those settlements, those original black settlement cities like Tuskegee and Mound Bayou and Eatonville and others. I didn't even know about that until I went to the conference where you were also in attendance and where you received an award. And I'm just honored to have received an award along with you. We had a great time down there. When we come back from break, we are going to talk about a lot of things, but we want to go to what you're doing these days. And I know that you're doing some very important things. But as I talk with people about what you're doing, and I'm your best salesperson right now because I've read this book and I've met you, and you're from right next door to my town in Alexandria, Louisiana. So, you know, I'm just like a walking advertisement for Joe Simon now. And every time I mention your name, somebody has a smile on their face and they remember one of those great songs that you made some years ago. And we know you're going to be making more. I've also listened to some of the newest songs that you've made, and those are great too. So I want to, before we go to break, thank the National Congress of Black Women for their donation today, Lavonda, and also Anonymous. And I noticed the board has not changed, but we need a little deduction there so we know how much farther we have to go. But I want to thank you. And again, thank all of those who helped us to reach our goal in fundraising. You know, here at WPFW, we are a nonprofit, you can say, just like my organization is. And we have to raise money in order to keep it going. Joe, you know something about that, I'm sure, because you've got a nonprofit. But we're going to go to a break right now, and we'll be right back. We'll be talking with Joe Simon.
WPFW presents legendary soul singer Betty Wright, the Cleanup Woman, coming to Bethesda Blues and Jazz Supper Club on Friday, November 1st. Betty Wright will be performing all of her classic songs, displaying her powerful and passionate vocals with a 7-octave range and deep gospel roots. Don't miss Betty Wright coming to Bethesda Blues and Jazz Supper Club on Friday, November the 1st. Doors will open for dinner at 6 p.m. and showtime is 8 p.m. Get your tickets now at BethesdaBluesJazz.com or call the box office at 240-330-4500. WPFW is proud to be hosting this concert with Bethesda Blues and Jazz Supper Club.
Meant to love you. Didn't you know it, babe? Didn't you know it? Why couldn't you be content with the love I gave? Oh, yeah.
Welcome back to Wake Up and Stay Woke. We're here talking with Joe Simon, the one and only, and that was one of his great big hits, Choking Kind.
Miss Williams.
Yes.
Miss Williams.
Yes.
Can I say something?
Absolutely.
Listen, I want to tell you that I've done a lot of interviews. I've traveled all over the world, and you are really good. You did your homework. I appreciate that.
All right. But see, I attended Grambling University down in a little town called Louisiana, which is one of those original black settlement towns. So they told us we had to learn all this stuff, in order to get along in this hard world. You know how it is. You wrote in your book how difficult life was. But we've just left now that old Joe Simon. I know people will never forget those songs, but these days we're going to go to the new Joe Simon, and you're preaching and you're teaching throughout the world. I was talking to Dr. James Dale this morning down in North Carolina, and he was telling me that he had worked with you at some time. I don't remember where, Texas or someplace, but I know you're all over the place. And you did a song called Come to Jesus. I played that last night. I just kept playing it over and over. It is so good. This may be the last time. I said, oh, my Lord. I said, whatever it is that may be wrong in my life, I better get it together now. So I want to talk about what you're doing these days.
Let me bring you up to date a little bit as much as I can with the time we got.
Okay.
Because, when you're interviewing somebody like Joe Simon, Marvin Gaye, and James Brown, you really need a month or two. You know what I mean?
I know. Well, we're going to invite you back, though.
Let me tell you, when I was singing rhythm and blues, I had a record that I released called "The Bees That Away Sometimes."
Mm-hmm.
Now, that was during my time of retiring from rhythm and blues. Now, here's what I discovered. I discovered when they played that song, when we did that song, "It Bees That Away Sometimes," they would take people from the nightclub to the hospital. I discovered then how dangerous music is. See, music is good and music is bad when it's not positive. That's why you need to be very careful on the type of music you play in your home for your kids. You understand?
Yeah. I know I mentioned Dr. James Dale from down in North Carolina, and he's just called in, and he seems to want to have a word with you. And then we're going to go back to your point that you were making. Good morning, Dr. Dale.
Good morning. How are you?
Oh, I'm blessed and highly favored.
Seconds. I know that's right.
Mm-hmm.
And with that young man, Bishop Joe Simon, on the program today, I tell you, I'm excited. Bishop, how you doing?
I'm glad to be here. I'm happy. How are you today?
I'm doing great, Bishop, and I just want to congratulate you on what you're doing in the black communities all over the country. I know when we was down in Houston and what you put together in trying to secure homes for low income people from through Wells Fargo was a exceptionally.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
You remember that when we was down in Houston together, yeah. So I just want to call in to congratulate you on what you're doing in the community and what you're doing in churches and nationwide. So I'm just I was excited when I heard that you can be on the program today, and I just want to call in and say thank you for what you're doing in our community.
We thank you very much, and you'll hear a lot about it. And we kicked off our national voter registration drive in the state of Louisiana. We probably be coming to Carolina. I spoke to someone that's trying to get me to come to Virginia. So we're all over the nation with that, okay?
Oh, okay, and that's called your National Voter Registration Drive, am I correct?
That's right.
Okay, and I know you announced it when we were down in Tuskegee, and I'm really excited about that because 2020 is such a special year.
Such a special year.
Oh yes, we've got so much coming up. We've got the census going on. We've got election time going on. It looks like we got impeachment going on, but maybe it'll be over. Maybe it'll be over before the 2020 election. But Dr. Dale, while you're on the line, I want to thank you too for all the public service work that you do. I know that you are a naturopath and you do a lot of work in that area. I've seen where you've helped a lot of people with illnesses they thought they had given up on. So I want to thank you. And of course, again, take this opportunity to thank Joe for the work that he's doing. So I hope the two of you will get back together and do even greater things.
Oh, we will. Matter of fact, Joe, I got your cell phone. I'm going to give you a call here right after the show, okay?
Thank you.
Okay, Bishop. Thank you so much. Appreciate you a lot.
All right.
God bless you all and what the National Congress of Black Women are doing throughout the country is so exciting. And I'm just excited to be part of that to expand the growth. So,
well, thank you so much, Dr. Dale, and we'll be talking with you later too. Now, you said that I truly believe everyone, and I mean everyone, should vote. If anyone would like to be a part of the Joe Simon National Voter Registration Drive, what can they do?
They can go to the website, www.joesimonministries.org.
Okay, www.joesimonministries.com.
That's an S now, ministries.org.
I got it, man. I was an English teacher once upon a time. I hear those sounds, especially coming from you, who would not know your voice and what you're saying.
Now, listen, there's a phone number, and that phone number is 877-805-8447.
Okay, that's 877-805-8447. Now you got Joe Simon's number, man. I'm never going to be able to get him because everybody's going to be calling him. For those of you who are just joining us, we're talking with the one and only Joe Simon, and we're talking about some of the public service work that he's doing around the country. Now, I know that you, as I was reading the book, I read that you work with young people these days too. What do you do with young people to help them?
Well, we have a school in Louisiana, not far from your hometown, that you didn't know about. We had it because you and I didn't get a chance to discuss a lot of things when I seen you in Tuskegee. But we have a school complex there, and we deal with young. We're the only group that bring everybody together. Young people, old people, middle class, all races. We bring them all together, and it's all done from Simpsport, Louisiana.
Okay, well, now that I'm, kind of growing in age, I call that, chronologically advanced rather than old people.
Well,
okay, but it's all right. We'll take that from you, Joe. All right.
Well, you know what? There's a great thing in getting old. There's a proud thing about that.
Okay, you'll have to tell me about that later.
I will. I will.
Actually,
can I tell you one more about what we was talking about
sure.
this music?
Sure.
And when I was retiring from rhythm and blues, I had that record that called "It Bees That Away Sometimes," and I discovered how dangerous music is. Music is is good and then it's bad. And so when they played when we did that record, they would go direct from the nightclub to the hospital. You see, that's why you have to be very careful on what type of music you play in your home, for it's damaging to your kids. Let me show you how dangerous music is. Now, you can take a record and sit in a room and play that record over and over, saying, "I'm going to kill somebody." And that record will brainwash you, and that night you'll commit a crime.
Wow.
Now, don't forget, music is a language. Now, let's look at the black community on why one of the reasons it's so dangerous and is not put together. See, black folks is the only one on this earth got several different kinds of music.
Okay.
Chinese got a Chinese music. Black, you go in the black community, you don't know what music it is, but you can dance or you can listen to it, and it's destructive to you. You understand?
Yes. Well,
Because you didn't call me to preach. I understand that.
Oh no! This is part two. This is part two. We're on part two now. You can do whatever. You remember we went from the old Joe Simon to the new Joe Simon. But whatever you are, Bishop, we love you. We love all the things that you're doing, and of course, we are about community service and talking about people who are doing community service. There's so many people in this world who wouldn't be able to live, who wouldn't have any kind of life unless somebody provided some service for them. Now, you once said, made a record, I think, called, they said, I wasn't going to be nothing, but I'm still holding on. What motivated you to do that song? Was that for real, or did you just make that song up?
No, that's for real. When I was a kid, and since I couldn't pick cotton and I wasn't good in the cotton field, they always told me I wasn't nothing and wasn't going to be nothing.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
And that is a damaging word. And if you're not strong, it's hard to make it in life when people telling you every day you ain't gonna be nothing. So I wrote the song about it because I wanted them to see that I am somebody. Mm-hmm. Even though I was lazy picking cotton, I didn't want to pick cotton because that's what I was about. But I didn't have no choice. You understand?
Yes, right.
Because I said, you can't tell me today. I tell her, you can't tell me that I ain't nothing and ain't gonna be nothing, because I was a rhythm and blues singer, a superstar, and now I'm a bishop. You can't get no bigger than that.
And now you're doing great service for everybody. Your music was wonderful to us. It still is. All of us still have your records. I was driving back from Tuskegee a few weeks ago, and I was just playing your songs, and that was just carrying me through. I breezed all the way from Tuskegee back up to Washington, D.C., listening to Joe Simon. Okay, right. Joe, we're going to be back and let you have some closing remarks to tell us anything you want us to talk about, but we've got to go to the fundraising pitch right now. We'll be right back with you, so don't go away.
All right. Thank you.
Hello, my sister Katia.
Hey, Dr. Williams. I would like to ask, first of all, I want to give the number. This conversation has been terribly engaging, and we're so appreciative of Bishop Simon joining us this morning, and of course for you for making it happen. The number to call, 202-588-9739, 1-800-222-9739, or online at wpfwfm.org. And Bishop Simon, Baba Dick Gregory always echoed your sentiment that, all of us can be somebody. And just because one thing is not working for us does not mean that we will not be something in life. And certainly you have disproven that or proven that thought wrong. And WPFW also, we're kind of that little engine in Pacifica that could, they very humble beginnings since 1977. Very small staff. I don't think the size of the staff has changed very much, but look at the powerful 50,000 watts we have and the ability, as you do, Dr. Williams and Bishop Simon, as you all do, to change hearts and minds. That is what WPFW is about. That is, as you say, Bishop Simon, that is what music is about. That is what political action and thought are about. That is what empowering voters is about. So if you understand that and you're within the sound of our voices right now, won't you take a moment and go to the phone and pledge your support to this fine program, Wake Up, Stay Woke? $500 to go, and I think we have about a little over 15 minutes to do it. The number to call, 202-588-9739, 1-800-222-9739, WPFWFM.org. I couldn't help, Dr. Williams and Bishop Simon, when Bishop Simon was talking about becoming somebody, I couldn't help but think of Martin and Malcolm. And we have a package right now that you can pick up. It's the Pacifica Radio Archives, Martin and Malcolm MP3 disc set. It's several speeches by both of them, and you will not be disappointed. It's a pledge of $75, excuse me. And we also have that Malcolm X primer, 6 CD set. 6-CD set, and that is for a pledge of $180. And, both of those men, their thought, their wisdom, their action, so instructive still to this day, as is Bishop Simon's action, so instructive to this day on how to move in the world. So we ask you right now, and of course, Dr. Williams' esteemed presence with us and all of the good work she does in the community and all the good work she brings to the airwaves. Won't you join us right now in this work by calling 202-588-9739, 1-800-222-9739, or going online at wpfwfm.org. Bishop Simon, do you have any words for why folks should support an independent media entity like WPFW?
Yeah, because it's close to us and we need that. And I think if we do what you just said, we will learn how to do things and stop talking so much. You know what I mean?
Yes,
because
indeed.
A lot of people don't do nothing but talk. But now we need action.
Exactly. And that is what we try to provide. And we do that, we give you all of this information so that you can take action. Whatever it is you want to get involved in to help make this world a better place, to turn the tide for all of us so all boats rise, you can do that. When you hear this information, you can if it's voter empowerment is your thing, take that mantle up. Find an organization doing that work. Talk to young people about the right to vote that folks died for.
Now, don't forget, one of the downfalls of the community is that people talking and not doing anything, okay?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So how do we move them to action?
You move them through action by teaching.
And that
is one of the greatest things on earth is education.
Absolutely. And that is what Dr. Williams does for us every week. She teaches us. She brings folks here so we can learn about what's happening and how we can get involved. So you're absolutely right, Bishop, that we should take action.
And never forget this, that being evil is a learning express. You understand? You have to learn how to be evil.
Mm-hmm. And to be hateful, right? Racism is learned.
That's a learning thing, okay?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And if it ain't teaching nobody, they're not going to learn anything. Now, there's an exception to the rule that somebody might learn something, and then there's another way that somebody may not never learn nothing, but that's life. But you have to move on. And I tried to do a program not too long ago. It took me a whole 7 months to do the program. And you know why I couldn't do it? Because everybody was talking and not doing anything.
When people ask me, Katia, the difference in my organization and some others, I say, they talk and we do.
Right. And you are always doing. I do notice that you all are always doing. So right now, we want to inspire the listeners to do. One way, I always say that one way you can become an activist instantly is by picking up the phone and pledging your support to WPFW 202-588-9739, 1-800-222-9739, or WPFWFM.org.
And finally, if you're at work and you can't make that call right now to make your donation, you can always go later to WPFWFM.org and make your donation there. We thank you so much, Sister Joe. She's the boss around here, so that's why she gets to talk that
great.
long.
That's
see?
Great.
Okay. All right. We've got a few minutes left, and I want to go back to your work. You mentioned taking some of your work back to your hometown in Louisiana. Tell us a little more about that and what you'll be doing with young people.
Well, let me bring you up to date on something else today. When I preached my first sermon,
I was there.
Oh, I didn't know that.
At the Alexandria Coliseum.
Yes. Now, this is why I went back to my hometown. Now, this we have to go into a little Christian thing here. I'm by using a word that God spoke to me. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
And sent me back to my hometown. Now, this is why he sent me back to my hometown. He wanted the people that helped raise me in the community, not only my parents, to see that their raising was not in vain. Do you understand?
Yes.
That was very important, that they can see that you go back to part that if you train a child will come to his senses at a certain time. You understand?
Yes.
That's why I had to go back to Alexandria. I could have preached my sermon in San Francisco, but I wasn't born in San Francisco. It wouldn't have been the same purpose, you understand? And then after I preached my first sermon, then I left Louisiana as a preacher. When I first left Louisiana, I was a sinner. Then I went back to Louisiana, and I left as a Christian. That's very nice. It's more positive, you understand? Okay.
All right. Well, those of you who are just joining us, we've been talking with Bishop Joe Simon. And, of course, I want to tell you again about his book, Don't Give Up. You Can Win. And he did give out his number, but if you forget his number, you know, my number is always open to give out information that needs to go out there. You can always call me and I'll tell you how to reach the bishop's office and how to get his book. My number, of course, is 202-678-6788, 202-678-6788. And I give my number out, too, so that my male fan club that I've heard about can call me. But, Bishop, before we go, I want to ask you one more question. Did you know Dick Gregory? This program is in remembrance of him. And do you remember anything about him?
Listen, let me tell you something. Dick Gregory and Joe Simon was very good friends, okay? Now, Dick Gregory used to come to Chicago, and we run a limousine, and we'd get in there and just ride and talk. Okay? So he was a very good friend of mine. And we always talk positive, but we always laugh. We never was, if I'm making sense, even if it was whatever it was about, it brought laughter to us. You understand?
Right. I've seen him make people at funerals laugh, the family and everybody. Yeah.
Because he would say funny things, even though if it wasn't a joke. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I certainly want to thank you for being on today and for talking with our audience. And I know that we're going to invite you back because there's so much we didn't talk about. Having read your book, having met you, having known you from Louisiana, there is so much we could have talked about. But I just appreciate so much that you're not one of those preachers who just, have the title and go to church on Sunday. You're actually out there in the community and you're doing God's work. So I thank you for that. And, it's just about time for us to say goodbye until next time. So I say to my listeners, don't forget that we are in our fundraising drive. You can still donate the rest of this day by going to wpfwfm.org. And please think about how you're going to help to reach somebody out there in the community to do something like Bishop Simon is doing. Keep on making a difference wherever you are every day. Here at WPFW, we love talking with you and having you share with our listeners. Make it a point to help somebody with something every day and tell your friends about WPFW and always know that I love you. And again, I thank you, Bishop, for being on. And I think we're going to hear a little bit of one of your songs before we go out, maybe Drowning in the Sea of Love or whatever.
Well, I thank you very much. And again, you are really good. I really like that. I'm proud of you.
All right. Okay. It's always good to talk with somebody from home.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, even though you'll be gone, we're going to go out with a wonderful song, even if it's the one that we played earlier.
Okay.
All right. If you want to hold on and hear it, you can.
I will.
Okay.